Stablecoins are now very close to becoming completely regulated in the US, and I think this will have a significant impact on the stablecoin market globally, since I have a strong suspicion that every country will follow the US's example in terms of crypto regulation. I am really thrilled about the fact that many other countries are beginning to follow the United States pro-crypto attitude. However, given what the US Treasury is doing and how it impacts the RLUSD, I really want to address this and talk about it more. So take a seat back and unwind. Greetings from the Peepo Coin channel, everyone. For those who are unfamiliar with the channel, please subscribe. On May 2nd, we received a significant update. The US Senate is moving forward with the stablecoin bill right now. As you are all likely aware, this is the genius bill. The US Senate may soon vote on a bill that would create US regulations for stablecoin issuers. This would be the first time the Senate has taken up a significant cryptocurrency bill. I'm suspecting, the first of many. However, the Genius Act, the Senate's version of the two similar bills that are currently circulating through both chambers of Congress, was initiated by Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a Republican from South Dakota, to expedite the establishment of national innovation for U.S. stablecoins. On its own vote, the House of Representatives is anticipated to trail closely behind. The purpose of Thune's motion to expedite the bill is to reduce floor action and delays and speed its completion. Although the exact date of the Senate vote is yet unknown, the attempt was approved by the Senate Banking Committee with a broad bipartisan support of 18-6 in April. A similar bill was also advanced by the House Financial Services Committee. Yes, we do not yet know the precise date of the entire vote, but I do have a strong suspicion that this will be approved really fast. By the end of August, a number of people have suspicions. Since we still have roughly 3 months to really get everything going, I believe it would be a safe time period. However, stablecoins may also see substantial growth during those 3 months. They already own a sizable portion of the U.S. Treasury market, traditional finance, and cryptocurrency. Outside of this, however, we also have subjective opinions over here. In this regard, the New York Department of Financial Services' current framework serves as the model for federal law pertaining to stablecoins. It is crucial to concentrate on this. In fact, I'll be examining this and discussing why. Focusing on this is crucial, but have a look at this. How do you interpret this? In addition to all of those benefits, you might argue that it has the potential to significantly lower the cost of the peer-to-peer payment system in the U.S. However, now that the industry's doors are somewhat open, how far does this go? Does this raise a lot of new questions regarding the evolution of the financial industry? Patrick? No, I don't think the major companies in the financial industry will employ these goods if there aren't good laws. They want certainty, but not for a term or all the way through the midterm. They need clarity in order to establish a business. You also won't invest a lot of capital on a short-term project that doesn't make much sense from a business standpoint. In the stablecoin industry, there is a strong push for sound federal legislation that is based on the New York State model. Both the Genius Act and the Stable Act, in my opinion, are excellent items. Many of the decisions there, in my opinion, are significant touch points. Additionally, how do you handle the domestics? How are the international stablecoins handled, having reasonable regulation that is comparable to the way we control local and foreign institutions? Furthermore, I believe that there are rational choices to be made there regarding a stablecoin regulatory framework. There is a lot of interest in implementing these products throughout the banking industry, but there is still more work to be done. I mean, what do you still don't know? Similarly to that kind of time frame guidance, you have provided very specific timelines for how you believe the market structure bill, for instance, will unfold. What do you think will happen to stablecoin clarity in the United States in the future? I believe that the Genius Act and the Stable Act have policies that are 75% to 85% comparable. Regarding how you handle it, I believe you have a few sticky issues. Who is the proper regulatory? But what regulatory body, not who, is in charge? And a lot of the choices we made in the last Congress were influenced by the political candidates who held those regulatory seats. This Congress can be much more meticulous about it, I believe, and obtain the right regulator for a federal product that can compete with state-regulated products. There will be a lot more variety and competition among the regulators, and so, we're beginning to see a lot of progress here And many of these agencies are now beginning to counter each other and really get the ball going. That's essentially what Patrick McHenry is talking about here. And it was precisely what we needed to see occur. To truly start simplifying things, we needed to see, for instance, the CFTC lawsuit against the SEC or the involvement of these other authorities, and that's precisely what's taking place at the moment. Regarding the New York Department of Financial Services, they are employing their current framework for this blueprint because of their excessively stringent policies. We now go to ROUSD on top of this because, once more, Ripple is currently in a very special situation. Circle is the topic of conversation. No one is really discussing RLUSD in terms of how regulated and compliant it is. Everyone is talking about Tether. Brad Garlinghouse announced in December that the New York Department of Financial Services has given RLUSD full approval. This is quite uncommon. All right, so there's even more upside to a New York Department of Financial Services approval down here. The regulator is quite picky about which blockchains businesses that possess its trust charter are allowed to use. Only Ethereum and Solana, which are utilized by Paxos, which creates its own Paxos currency, and the PayPal USD stablecoin, have received approval thus far. Since Circle, the corporation that issues stablecoin, is not a trust company, it is exempt from these limitations. About blockchains. In other words, Ripple is not the only entity that can issue regulated tokens on the XRP ledger. Thanks to the New York Department of Financial Services authorization, it also makes it much simpler for others to do so. This is really thrilling. Thus, we consider the following line when considering this. While USDC is generally seen as safe and regulated, Ripple's institutional focus is important. Therefore, from an institutional standpoint, the absence of a trust charter is a limitation. Additionally, stablecoin laws are beginning to be implemented using the New York Department of Financial Services' current framework as a model. Additionally, it places Ripple and ROUSD in an entirely different league. This is really optimistic. In addition, we look into stablecoins that are expected to reach a market value of $2 trillion, 0 cents, by 2028. Actually, the U.S. Treasury is the source of this. This is being discussed by the U.S. Treasury. According to the Treasury, stablecoin usage could boost demand for U.S. Treasury bills worldwide. A special shout-out goes out to Matthew Linyai of the U.S. Department of Treasury, who is preparing for the adoption of stablecoins. Actually, Smoke Dog posted a much larger dissection, of which this is a part. I won't say that now. You know Matthew took this, or something like, because, well, Matthew is